Hey, what's up, guys? Look, I'm here with my guy, Brian. Now, Brian has actually been in my program for about, 2 years now, but I want to let him introduce himself. Brian, let him know what you do for a living and how you got into the credit game.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Brian Halstead. I've been a entrepreneur for over 20 years. I met Tony in another mentorship about 2 years ago, and initially had brought him on board to build out my systems. I was at a point in my business where just doing everything simply on paper wasn't working. So he built out my systems, fully automated my business, and I've stayed close to Tony over the past 2 years. I'd say it was probably maybe 3-4 months ago. Initially, I'd circled back when Tony had introduced his new program, which was the Credit to Millions. And at that point, I went ahead and, I don't know if I was the first client, to come on board, but because I had trust in Tony, went ahead and brought him on board to join, that program as well.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's fire. And I know you joined the program was it a few months ago or a couple months ago?
I think it was about 2 months ago. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the most money you made in a day since you joined the program?
So since I joined the program, the most I did $21,000 in a 24-hour period, cash collected.
Okay, fire. And explain how you made that money.
Yeah, so the credit repair side of the house, right, you're going to hit certain limitations in your business. But the one thing a lot of people don't realize is that generally people that are trying to fix their credit, they want to do more with their credit. And I had been outsourcing a lot of my funding to others within the credit repair space. I joined the program, brought the funding in-house, and started doing the funding in-house directly. So out of that 21,000, I'd say about 6,500 of it came directly from credit repair, with the remainder coming through funding.
Okay, so how do you make money from funding? Let's say, okay, you join the program and you want to start funding people. How do you make money?
Yeah, so what we're doing is essentially we're the middleman between the client and the bank. Okay. A lot of times you understand that, the banks, I think the number one question that we get is, how can you get someone $100,000 plus with no proof of income, no tax returns, and no collateral? And the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is when it comes to funding and meeting the requirements that the bank wants to see, it goes beyond just your credit score. So what we do is we've marketed our business, right? Clients come to us. My particular focus is within the e-commerce sector. I assist my clients in properly structuring their credit profile and basically building out the profile exactly the way the bank wants to see it. We then at that point will help the client secure their funding, and we charge a back-end commission fee on more or less what we secure for them.
Okay, and just for the people watching, how do you collect that fee?
Yeah, so the fee is collected at once we fund the client, we charge a back end. It's a 10% fee. So a lot of times clients, are ultimately securing $150,000, and they're using the credit that we're getting them to pay our fee. Now, this 0% interest is generally for 12 months. There is going to be a 1% premium payback, right? So if they max out the card on $100,000, they're making payments of $1,000. But a lot of times we will just have them use the cards that they get to ultimately pay our fee.
Yeah. So basically, if you're watching this out there, you basically fund somebody $100,000. Once they receive those credit cards in the mail, you can send them an invoice for that 10% out of that $100,000, and they can pay that invoice with the new credit cards they just received in the mail. So it's a very lucrative business, and my guy Brian here, he's been crushing the credit repair space and the funding space as well. But what made you get into the space in the beginning?
Yeah, so I'm one of the anomalies in the sense that my credit has always been good, right? I've leveraged my credit to purchase, real estate, multiple businesses. But the one thing that kind of drew me initially into this was, as I was scaling my Amazon business, right? I did over $100,000 in less than 90 days. But the one thing that I didn't have was additional capital to scale my business further. And that was initially what kind of drew me to funding in general. So I went in, funded myself. It allowed me the ability to then take my business from initially 6 figures into a 7-figure business. And as I started talking to fellow entrepreneurs, I realized that, every credit coach out there, every Amazon coach was teaching how to build the business, but no one was teaching you how to get the funding and the money that's actually needed to scale the business.
No, yeah, they always do that. Like they sell you this program for a lot of money, Amazon or e-com, whatever it is, but they're not telling you that, hey, you have to have some good credit cards. You have to have enough capital to scale this up, right?
Correct.
But that's why credit is one of the most lucrative industries right now.
Correct.
I know you see a lot of people doing credit, but there's a reason for that. But how much have you made in total, like since you started the credit repair business and the funding company?
Yeah, at this point, we've done well over $500,000.
Okay.
Well over $500,000. So we are on track this year to do probably north of about 1.5 million. And that's on the conservative side. So, we deliver a very high quality service, which then is bringing in additional communities that are looking to bring us in as funding as a service, right? So for those of you, in the coaching space, if you're thinking of additional ways to bring value to your programs, you can leverage a service like ours to provide your clients with that additional funding that's needed to grow and scale the business.
Okay, now talk about the credit repair systems and the service that you provide. Like, how long does it take to fix somebody's credit and get them funded?
Yeah. So generally, full credit restoration on average takes about 3 to 6 months is what I've seen. Again, there's no guarantees. We never tell a client, we're going to fix your credit in 30 days. The thing I like to tell clients is that, they've spent 10, sometimes 10, 15 years screwing up their credit, right? And the Great Wall of China was not built overnight, right? So 3 to 6 months on average. At that point, we also build out the client's credit profile. And once everything's been cleaned, the derogatory marks have been removed, we can then take them to the bank to secure upwards of $150,000 in capital.
Okay, now for the people watching, like, do you have to do all the credit repair stuff, or like, how does that? I mean, obviously I know how it works, but just let the people know exactly how involved you are inside the actual repair.
Yeah. So as far as on our side, I'm not doing the actual disputing, right? I've got a team that does all of my credit repair disputing. I've built, again, this is why it's so critical to build out the back end systems, making sure that you've got a team in place. I, at this point, am nothing more than the face of the company, right? The marketing front, I go out and negotiate all the partnerships and continue to build my team that's going to allow us now to move well into a 7 or 8 figure organization.
Yeah, so people don't realize how important the back-end systems are. And, that's what we provide in our program is, we basically set up everything for you, payment processors, CRMs, we train VAs for you. We basically set up the whole back-ends for you so you can just go ahead and start marketing and start, closing people, get leads, basically, like you said, become the face of the brand. And the best part is that it's really low overhead. So, like, for example, how much does it cost to run your credit repair business? I mean, just like, give us a rough estimate.
I looked at numbers last month. We're clearing well over 85% margins at this point. So it is a business that requires very low overhead to get started. And, as you continue to scale, it's just a matter of rinse and repeating.
Yeah, so this business model is very lucrative because, it's a digital service. It's a digital service. You're dealing with people's credit and you're dealing with funding. So like, the people that don't have the money, you can fix their credit and get them the capital so they can pay you as well. So it's fucking insane. It's probably one of the best business models to start off with that's out there for sure.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd agree. And studies show right now roughly 7 to 8 out of 10 people have bad credit. right? As inflation continues to rise, AI is essentially replacing, the working force. You're seeing a lot of people that are now starting to default on their credit, right? So I like to call it a recession-proof business. Now, one of the things that differentiates my company from some of the others is that not only do we want to assist them in securing the capital, but we also show them and teach them what to do with the capital. Whether that's investing in stocks, real estate, e-commerce, so that can be Amazon, it could be TikTok Shop, it could be Shopify, Walmart, or a lot of times too, now I've got individuals and clients of mine that are coming back asking, how can we start a business and do something similar to what you're doing?
Yeah, and that's the best part about this business model is that, okay, you're going to start off with a credit repair client. You're going to get them in your system. You're going to fix their credit. You're going to build out their credit, and then you're going to upsell them to funding, right? Correct. Once you upsell them to funding, you get them the capital, and they don't know what to do with the capital. That's when you can upsell them for your info, right? Your info on how to do exactly, what you did for them to other people, right? So they can run their own credit repair business. So, the lifetime of a client is like you can upsell them three, 4 times, throughout the whole process. So
absolutely.
What's going on with your info product? Like, are you launching that soon?
Yeah, I am. So, the one thing I looked at our database the other day, and I had mentioned to you, we've got well over, I think 4,500 active clients within our system, and these are individuals that are doing, credit repair. But I've got a lot of people now coming back to me saying, Brian, you've changed my life. You fixed my credit. You got me funding. You showed me how to build additional passive streams of income. Now I want you to teach me how to do the same thing so I can take that to my community. So we are in the process of I like to say, following your footsteps, right? I am building out my mentorship. It will be a not only a course, but I don't want to just give individuals a course and plug them into videos. I want to actually show them how to do this, very much in the sense of how you've done in, assisting me in building out my business. Yeah,
and that's the best part is like you want to learn from somebody that already went through all that stuff, right?
Correct.
Learn how to set up the systems, went through all the mistakes inside the business, the funding data points and sequences. Like, talk about that. Like, I know that you see a lot of people doing funding and stuff, but as far as like the program that we provided for you, like what do you think about all the data points and sequences for the funding?
Yeah, no. One thing, when it comes to the funding, the banks are getting smarter, right? Nowadays, you've got AI. You've got individuals that are defaulting on credit. So naturally, the banks are going to tighten their belts a little bit. They want to make sure, the banks are in the business of making money, and generally it's by way of interest. So one of the things that I appreciate from your program is that you guys are so well connected with other, top funding companies that you keep the data points updated, right? The thing you don't want to do is make the investment in a program that has outdated information. Our clients come to us simply because of the fact we deliver, right? The fact that we can take a 1-month-old LLC and secure north of $100,000 to $150,000 in 0% interest funding. You have to make sure that you have proper information, because if I fail and I don't deliver, we all know the client is going to head out there and they're going to remember that, right? But we've got a reputation for continuously delivering, so I have to make sure that the information that I'm utilizing, especially when it comes to the banks and which banks, programs, data points, I have to make sure that the information I'm getting is accurate as well.
No, 1,000%. And, a lot of, credit and funding programs out there, they actually don't really give you all the data points, for most banks, right? They basically sell you a program, and then inside the program, they'll upsell you, hey, if you want to fund your clients, you have to go through our, bankers, and we'll charge you a certain amount of fee. But with our program, it's like, no, we give you all the info, all the data points, so you can actually go do this yourself and actually keep 100% of the profits, whether that's for credit repair or funding.
Correct. Yeah, and then I think the other thing, to your point, right, there are other communities that will assist you in building out funding sequences, but to your point, right, everyone is trying to take a percentage of what you're making. The one thing that I was impressed with your program, Tony, is that it was a one-time fee, right? The information was there. Me coming into the space and coming from doing credit repair and funding now for a couple years, the last thing I wanted to do was buy into like a beginner's program. So I appreciate the fact that if I was just getting started, you laid out the blueprint from A to Z. Everything from building out your systems to funding your client, marketing, building your brand, building that social proof, presence on social media. But in addition to that, right, someone like myself came in and also found value in there, right? There were tidbits of information that I was not aware of, and I'm very appreciative for that.
Yeah, no, appreciate you for even, trusting us and tapping in with me. I know we've been working for a minute now. And, you definitely scaled your business up from when you started. Because when you started, you kind of didn't have no experience in the online space,
Yeah.
But I feel like now, like you're doing it, you're a professional at it. So
Yeah.
no, I'm looking forward to your growth. And, what's next for you?
Yeah. Just before we jump into that, I do want to highlight, right? I went from thinking social media was the biggest waste of time. Prior to joining, bringing Tony on board to assist me with building out my systems, I had no following, right? Just thought it was a complete waste of time. And I will tell you that the internet is the easiest way to scale to over six figures. Right. If you are not doing it in this day and age, it is easier to make $100,000 today than, someone like myself. I mentioned to Tony earlier today, like I told you 20 years ago, it was relatively difficult. The next thing for me at this point, right, is we are, like I said, I don't want to say scaling out of the credit repair space, because we do get a lot of clients that come to us and maybe have a late payment or collection or repossession. But you will be seeing a lot more from us around the funding. We are starting to receive inbound inquiries from, like I said, coaches, whether it's in the commerce space. We've got someone now even that is helping clients build out 6 and 7 figure businesses around, renting out trailers. But the reality is they need funding for that. So that's a community of close to 6,500 people, and they have reached out exclusive to us looking for us to do all the funding. So I am in the process of building out the team, really scaling everything. And that's why I said, this year is going to be a very, I would say, we're scaling in the right trajectory, right? On the low side, I'm anticipating around 1.5 million. On the high side, we should be able to probably double that.
Okay, no, that's amazing. Yeah. And, a lot of people, they might watch this and they might think like, hey, a lot of people are doing credit on the internet, but a lot of the times it's because, that's all who you follow is credit people.
Correct.
But to be honest, like we're in the credit game or credit industry, and it's actually kind of really, really small. Everyone knows each other, right? And, 75% of Americans actually need something done with their credit, whether it's removing inquiries, some late payments, or a charge off, or even getting funded or getting approved for a house or a car or something, right? So 75% of Americans need something, done with their credit, like a service. But, we can't service everybody, so there's money for everybody. Like, don't watch this and thinking, oh, okay, Brian's killing it, Tony's killing it, like there's no room for me. Like there's a lot of room for a lot of people in this space, and it's so fucking lucrative. And the online space is already lucrative, right? Personal branding, but if you mix that with credit and the systems and all that stuff and the funding, like it's a done deal. Like you're gonna make a lot of money for sure.
Correct. And the other thing too is, I built this business while working a corporate 9-to-5 job. And that I think is one thing, right? You've got a lot of people that are thinking, well, I've got this dreadful 9-to-5 that I hate going to, and I want my exit ticket, right? I just got to the point where I was tired of trading my time for money. And I've managed to figure out a way to exceed my corporate income with about 25% of the time that I was putting into my job. So like I said, I mean, those of you out there that are looking, maybe you're looking to build this on the side, right? That can, provide you with some additional household income. It's a good option, right? Alternatively, if you're looking to build something that can really change the life of not only you, but also your family, your kids, and start building that true generational wealth, this is a great avenue to start doing that as well.
Yeah, this is why I like the credit game so much. It's like you don't have to be a big social media influencer.
Correct.
You can just be a regular guy. And I'm not saying that you're a regular guy, like you're fucking well off, you know. I seen your lifestyle, you know, it's amazing. But yeah, you don't have to be a big social media influencer with a bunch of followers. You know, you can be a normal guy working 9 to 5. You can fund somebody, you know, $100,000 a month. You're already at $10,000 a month at that point. There's so many ways to make money with the credit game, but I definitely recommend if you're looking to start a business model, definitely want to look into credit, because I know I've tried e-com, Amazon, affiliate marketing, all these things. I don't know. I feel like the credit game is probably one of the best ones for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think the one thing is a lot of people think this market is overly saturated, right? You know, your client may not want to work with me, right? And my client may not want to work with you. So I really, really genuinely believe that there is a client for everyone out there. And I don't anticipate it slowing down. I see, it seems like every single month, right, when you've got the job reports and different things coming out, our ad spend is not changing, but the one thing that is the number of clients that are coming on board. So really, really, you know, looking forward to what's to come.
Okay. Now let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram under Brian J. Halstead, or you'll find me on TikTok under the same handle, also our YouTube channel. YouTube, coincidentally, you know, I've kind of started going viral on YouTube. So we started sharing some content on there. I had one piece of content that we had over 3.2 million views in less than 24 hours.
Is it short or YouTube video?
That is a short form content, right?
Okay. You haven't posted long form on YouTube?
I have not. So, but this interview will be.
Okay, so all your leads come from social media.
Yes.
Okay.
So 100%. No, I wouldn't say 100%. I would say about 85% of our leads right now are coming either from Instagram or Facebook. We are getting some leads that are coming in from TikTok, some from YouTube as well, but generally it's been primarily Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah. Also talk about like joining other people's community to provide the service that you provide.
Yeah. So, you know, going back to my original point about the coaching space, right? You can find yourself joining one of these communities, and the one thing that the coaches need is capital, right? They're trying to sell a program. So if you can offer funding as a service and turn that individual into an affiliate. So what we do is I provide a 20% payout on the back end of what I collect. So ultimately, if I'm charging, let's say, a 10% fee, we may fund the client for $100,000. I'm going to invoice for $10,000, but then I pay out $2,000 to that coach. Now, why that's so important is because that $2,000 is something that they were not collecting beforehand. And then also, this is providing them the ability to differentiate themselves from some of the other communities in the space. So specifically in the e-commerce realm, right? I found myself when I had joined an Amazon mentorship, they taught me how to build an Amazon store. They taught me how to find product. The one thing they never mentioned was how to get the money, right? So I depleted my checkings. I depleted my savings. I maxed out my credit cards. I was profitable, but I wanted more. And I realized that there had to be an easier way to do this. Now, coincidentally, I come from a corporate finance background. So a lot of people ask, well, you're a finance guy, you've been in finance all your life. Why wouldn't you just tap into the business funding space? Again, my initial impression was that I was going to have a business that was generating income to go and get money, right? The banks are literally out there lending money with no questions asked, right? If we hit the data points, we have a properly structured credit profile. The fact that we can take a client in, like I said, with an LLC that is 30 days old, no proof of income, no tax returns, and no collateral, and walk out with over $100,000 at 0% interest for 12 months is mind-blowing. It is fucking mind-blowing.
So I'm saying it's one of the best business models because you're literally selling money, right? And this is why the program is called Credit to Millions, because you can really run up $1 million. I already made $1 million in the credit game, My guy Brian's on track to make 1.5 million, which is insane, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's because, with all the systems, data points, and, the connections, like the communities, right? There's a lot of people, especially in Miami, that sell info, and, they have a bunch of leads that are, not qualified for their financing. A lot of coaches, they do offer financing, but the leads have to meet a certain credit score requirement, right? So, you can reach out to these coaches and, get their leads, charge it for credit repair, get their credit right, and then they can finance the coaching programs that they offer. So, like just having this system alone, like you don't have to be a credit repair person or credit service provider. Like you could be an online coach. Okay, you have the systems now. Now you can process all your unqualified leads, put them in the system, and then eventually you can, once you get the credit right, you can finance the coaching program with your financing.
Correct.
So, there's so many ways to make money with this shit.
Yeah, and it's huge for the coaching space, right? Because if you're a coach and you're trying to sell a program, the one thing you want to do is make sure that all your clients are successful. Well, the way you're going to show success is by scalability, right? We need capital, obviously, to scale. So even as a funding coach, bringing that in again as a service, and then giving your clients the funding that's needed to, expand their business is going to do nothing more than expand yours as well.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And how long are you in Miami for?
So I'm in and out 24 hours,
Okay.
So I flew down here specifically to meet with you, and I know it's crazy. We've known each other for over 2 years, and this is the first time that I've physically met you in person.
Yeah, no, that's fire. Yeah, so I've been knowing Brian for 2 years. We've been working together for 2 years, and that's the thing about this online space is that we were talking about this earlier. Like you're gonna connect with a lot of people and make a lot of money online with the people that you meet on social media. But it's crazy that we finally got to meet up, and to be honest, it doesn't feel weird because
no, it feels like I've known you forever, honestly.
No, 1,000%. But like, okay, so let the people know, like, is the program worth it?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I made my money back. I didn't tell Tony this, but I made my money back within 7 days. And, I had clients lined up. And like I said, the information is there, right? Everyone, for the most part, is going to need some sort of credit repair, okay? So you generally, we're charging about $1,000 per client to fix their credit, okay? I don't know how much the program's going for, right? I don't want to disclose how much I paid, but the reality is you can make your money back on the credit repair side. You can make your money back on the funding side. And then after you have figured it out, you can bundle it up and resell the program again. So, I feel like I scammed you, Tony, honestly.
Yeah, all my students scam me. They pay me and then they fucking 10x their fucking investment.
Yeah. Because, the reality is, like I said, the information, I know I didn't pay you $500,000 for everything you've done for me, right? I sure as hell know I didn't pay you $1.5 million for what you've done for me. So the fact to take the information that you've given me for most definitely you got to pay to play, right? But the number one thing I tell people, the best investment you can make is in yourself. Okay.
100%.
People will go out and blow money on vacations and unnecessary bullshit, but the minute you start having the conversation about, make the investment in yourself, they start backpedaling. And that's the one thing. I saw you promoting this, so I knew it was coming, right? And I think it was day one that you dropped the program, I shot you a text and I said, how much for the program? You gave me a figure, no questions asked. I wired them the money, right? Yeah. So, because I know the value's there.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And I appreciate you for everything, for even trusting us and, going through the program and actually, taking action, because a lot of people, they just think that, okay, if I buy this program, I'm going to make a lot of money. I mean, in some cases, the worst case that can happen is, you fucking make your money back or break even. Yeah. But, you're someone that actually took the information and actually ran with it and scaled it up. So, that separates you from like other lazy people. So you can't be lazy doing this shit, but no, I appreciate you for coming in. And I'm looking forward to your growth and, how crazy you go with the credit game. And, I know, you're going to buy more stuff. We're talking about exotics. What type of exotic you want to get?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the Ferrari 488. Yeah, 488? So, Tony's got the Lambo, and you know, me being a little bit of older cat, I told you when I sat into it, right, my back started hurting a little bit, but yeah, no, I'm you know, either that or even a Rolls Royce. You know, I tend to cater to a little bit of an older demographic, but most definitely, right. I mean, that's another thing we didn't really touch on, but Tony's got the exotic car hack. Right, and I don't know if you openly, you know, market that, but you want to drive, you know, your dream car. There's no reason that you should not be able to. Right, you've got one life to live, and the thing I always tell people is live life with no regrets. Right.
Yeah.
Go out there. You want to, you know, you see the penthouse here in Brickell, right? He's in prime real estate. He's got, you know, the Lamborghini, and I commend you for doing it. I told you a long time ago, right? To be so young with that much drive is very, very inspiring. Very inspiring.
No, I appreciate you, bro. And yeah, like so inside the program, like there is not just the credit repair systems and the funding plays, but there's also like lifestyle hacks, like how to hack your first exotic car, how to get you know, your first luxury watch, how to live a luxury lifestyle, you know, whether it's a high rise or a home or whatever it is. So, you know, with the credit game, like there's so many things that you can do. Like it's insane. Bro. It's completely insane. Like,
no, Tony, you know, for my 40th, I copped the AP, and that was a dream watch, right? I mean, I think we spent close to 50 on it, right? And before that, you know, the most I'd spent on a watch was probably maybe like $3,000-$4,000. But you're gonna start leveling up in all aspects of your life, right? Whether it's a house, the car, it could be, you know, the lifestyle of the females, the jewelry. Naturally, right? You surround yourself with successful people. You know, if you got 9 millionaires in the room, you're gonna be the 10th one.
No, it just rubs off. Like, you know, a lot of my students, you know, they have exotic cars, they have the nice watches, they have the nice luxury living, but they also have, you know, the income, right? The income, the nice credit cards, the good credit, the funding. So everything ties up, you know, everything ties up with your personal brand as well. You can use all this stuff to leverage it, to market yourself online and social media. So this goes really deep, and, you know, you can find everything inside the Credit to Millions program. But thank you for pulling up, bro. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Looking
I appreciate the hospitality.
Yeah. But all right, guys, look, if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, I'll put the link down below. But if you guys want to work with me as well, I'm putting the link down below in the description. So, you know, I'll see you guys.